Hello, everybody, and welcome into another edition of the Recruiting Rundown here on Gamecock Central. I am Kendall Smith, joined alongside of Wes Mitchell, and we are back here to recap what is going on in the world of recruiting for Gamecock football. It was a busy weekend this past week for South Carolina as they hosted another official visit weekend in our Recruiting Insider. Wes is here to give us the 411, the details. He's in the know about everything that's going on. So, Wes, what did you hear from the players that came on that OV about their experience?
Yeah, I think it was good. That's to be expected. That's the feedback you always get. It's always a positive thing. I feel like, Kendall, we've been kind of previewing that June 10 and then June 24th weekend. Probably it felt like for months. It finally got here. South Carolina ended up, I think it was 13 was the official number for the first weekend. 12 was the official number this past weekend. And I said somewhere, I don't remember even where this was. I said somewhere if South Carolina can end up getting maybe half of those guys in the end when they sort of look back on that weekend, so 6 of the 12, then, I felt like that would mean it was a very successful weekend. They obviously already had 2 guys that were committed coming in. So you're looking at 10 uncommitted guys. They got 2 more that have now gone public, obviously, and then 1 more if we can assume that the last guy who is still silent is from this weekend as well, then they are well on their way to sort of hitting that halfway point with several guys, even going back to the June 10 weekend, several guys from that weekend and this weekend that have still not announced, and some of which we'll be announcing here pretty soon.
So let's talk about those players that did announce over the weekend that they will be coming to South Carolina. The first one being CJ Adams, listed as an athlete, wide receiver. So what do you know about him, Wes, and what he could bring to South Carolina?
Yeah, CJ Showtime Adams, you mean, Kendall.
That's right.
He actually
interviewed
spoke to
him
you
yesterday.
Yeah, go check out Kendall's interview with CJ. Some interesting stuff there from him, get to know him a little bit off the field. Nice kid off the field, and I say that because he is a bully on the field, and I say that with all respect. Like, I think this kid plays the game, not to necessarily compare him yet because it's not fair, but from a mindset standpoint, he reminds me of the way Deebo Samuel plays, the way Jaheim Bell plays, where it's almost like he takes something a little bit personal, like maybe the guy across from him is talking about his mama or something. Like there's a little edge there, I feel like. Not very many wide receivers is the first clip on their film, them blocking somebody. But if you pop up his huddle, it's him just like driving a guy 10, 12 yards down the field. So I think that said something about his style of play. Justin Stepp, the receivers coach, highly involved here. But Jody Wright, the tight ends coach, involved as well. So I think that tells us a little bit about how they see him. I look at Cameron Sandlin, who committed, a week or so ago. He's more along the lines of like a Jaheim Bell, but skewed a little bit towards tight end. I look at CJ kind of like a Jaheim Bell, but skewed a little bit more towards wide receiver, but still similar guys in that if you're South Carolina, you're just saying, look, we're taking guys who make plays, who play with they're kind of an alpha is the way I look at it. Like they play the game the right way, and they want the football in their hands, and they want to sort of be physical, which you don't always see that from wide receiver types. So I really like this pickup, and he had a very low key approach to the process. South Carolina, I would say, pretty much led from throughout. Like they offered him, they got him on campus a couple times. He committed. There was very little fanfare. It was just sort of matter of fact the whole way.
Yeah, he's a great guy, and I really enjoyed talking to him the other day. So definitely check out that interview if you haven't had the chance yet. But that other public commitment, a big one for South Carolina, coming from Grayson Pup Howard, linebacker. Huge recruiting battle that South Carolina won there. So maybe talk about the process of winning that battle for South Carolina and then Grayson as a player.
Yeah, we talk about big boy recruiting battles on here a lot. This is a big boy recruiting battle. Look at his top 5, his final 5. You're talking about South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, Clemson, all schools that are blue bloods, all schools that recruit incredibly well, really on a national level. So South Carolina goes in, gets Pup Howard. And this was I would say, culmination of really like a 12, probably more like 18-month recruiting process where South Carolina, I would say, really prioritized him before a lot of those other schools, built that early relationship. Huge kudos to Clayton White. Kudos to Shane Beamer, who was very highly involved as a head coach. and even Sterling Lucas, who kind of took over that area once Mike Peterson left. Sterling's not necessarily Pup's position coach, but he was involved in there as well. And I think this was a relationship get. Like, I think he just felt more comfortable at South Carolina than he did with the other schools. I think Florida finished second. He took an official to Florida. I think, gave him something to think about. There's always that home, that hometown pool, like the home state pool. So that gave him something to think about. But ultimately, I think all the just relationship, all the groundwork South Carolina had built leading up to the official visit, getting him in for that final official leading into the decision, I think was massive. And, on the field, this kid's a great player. On3 has him as number 7 linebacker in the country. I called him a bona fide, like, blue chip SEC linebacker. And this also a kid you build your locker room around. Very sharp, very smart, has higher aspirations than just on the football field. Kind of one of these he's just a very wholesome guy. Like, you talk to him, he takes a different approach to the recruiting process than, I would say, just your average high school football player. So future leader for South Carolina, future starter for South Carolina. And when Beamer, you could tell when that welcome home went out, there's a little extra edge of excitement from Shane Beamer. And there's a reason why. I think this guy is a future core member of South Carolina's defense.
So still waiting on one more welcome home to be made public that Shane Beamer tweeted about this past weekend. But it's also a big week in terms of announcements for a lot of players that South Carolina has been pursuing in terms of recruitment. One of those players being Javon Harvey. He's an edge from North Carolina. He'll be announcing this week on July 1st. And then also on July 1st, Braylon Johnson, defensive back from Virginia. So where do you think South Carolina might be at with those two players?
Yeah, so right now, as we talk, it's June 29th. We'll continue to, of course, be monitoring those situations leading up to the announcements. Right now, if I had to, if you made me guess, I would think South Carolina maybe splits these two guys. I think Harvey, it's South Carolina and North Carolina, but there's been a lot of North Carolina buzz that he's going to stay in state and go to UNC for a while. So I would probably lean that way. With Braylon Johnson, it's been a South Carolina, I think, Virginia Tech battle. I think those are the two schools, obviously VT being the home state school for him. But South Carolina has some good connections there. Antoine Wells is a former teammate of his. His coach there at Highland Springs went to Virginia Tech. So there's a connection there with Torian Gray, connection there with the Beamer family, long-standing ties there. And his coach is also his dad. So there are, some ties there that I think probably work in the Gamecocks' favor. Again, we'll keep monitoring it, but right here at this moment, I would think South Carolina splits those two and lands Braylon Johnson, the defensive back from Highland Springs, Virginia.
Another big-time recruit that's announcing his commitment is Devonte Reno, 4-star quarterback in the class of 2024. He's announcing this Saturday, July 2nd at 7 p.m. on CBS Sports headquarters, 24/7 Sports. It's a whole thing. So he will be saying where he's going to go to college, and I know that the Gamecocks have been one of those schools for him that have been right up there at the top. So how are you feeling about this one for South Carolina, Wes?
Yeah, Kendall, let's be honest. Dante has not hidden his love for South Carolina at all. Steadily posting to other players, tweeting at guys, Instagram comments, wearing the Gamecock swag, posting pictures of him with other 2024 targets in South Carolina uniforms. We normally try to maybe be a little coy with this stuff, but I think South Carolina is in really good shape here. I think Dante's made that pretty clear. And, we'll dive, of course, into what it would mean for Carolina to get him, if he does end up committing to South Carolina on Saturday night, which I would expect. But, man, it would be a massive get for South Carolina. You can go – it would be the first 2024 commitment. And this is someone, as he's already shown everybody, that will immediately – start recruiting for South Carolina, and someone I think you can build a class around. That's very important in today's the social aspect of recruiting. All these kids are connected. They're all about Twitter, Instagram, all this stuff. You can know someone without even ever meeting them in person, I feel like. So that's something where Dante will be incredibly involved with, I think. So we'll see. Gamecocks, I would think, will get some good news on Saturday night.
I think that's going to do it for this edition of the Recruiting Rundown. Just recapping everything that's going on with South Carolina right now. It is certainly busy. July may slow down just a little bit, but there still are going to be some announcements coming. Dylan Lonergan postponing his announcement until July 12th. He said that this week, so we'll keep you posted on that, as well as everything else that is happening in the world of South Carolina recruiting over on GamecockCentral.com. Thank you all so much for joining us. He's Wes Mitchell. I'm Kendall Smith, and we will see you soon.